Look at this thick cream struggling to absorb into a dry, porous surface. This physical barrier highlights a primary limitation in modern dermatology. We rely heavily on topical serums and isolated oral supplements, like extracted collagen and retinol, to force localized corrections from the outside in. But the structural integrity of your skin, its moisture retention, the tensile strength of its collagen, and the regulation of its pigmentation is primarily driven by deep, systemic metabolic processes. It is a readout of internal biological efficiency, not a surface-level deficiency. There is a highly effective counter-approach. Instead of applying isolated chemicals, the ingestion of specific whole food phytochemicals provides the exact raw materials your body needs to trigger its own endogenous production of these desired compounds. This split-screen diagram shows exactly why dietary precursors are superior. On the left, an isolated exogenous supplement pill is degrading heavily in the harsh acidic environment of the stomach. On the right, a natural dietary precursor pathway moves efficiently from the digestive tract into the liver. Dietary precursors entering the bloodstream retain a vastly superior systemic bioavailability. As the right side of this diagram expands, we see the liver outputting active compounds directly into the lower dermal layers. To understand how to optimize this physiological breakdown, we will analyze 6 specific functional foods, alongside one biological catalyst, that actively drive this cellular repair from within. Achieving visible dermatological results does not require forcing expensive chemicals through the skin's surface. It requires providing your liver and vascular system with the precise raw materials they need to execute self-repair. This microscopic footage illustrates the continuous cellular damage caused by free radicals. Originating from UV radiation and environmental pollution, these erratic particles aggressively collide with your skin cells, physically degrading their structural matrix. To counteract this, we look to the Indian gooseberry, known as amla. Amla is a profound source of vitamin C, containing an exact concentration that is 20 times higher than that of a standard orange. This bar chart puts amla's extreme antioxidant multiplier into perspective. When compared to the most popular superfoods, amla contains 50 times the antioxidant density of blueberries, 75 times the density of goji berries, and 2.5 times the density of acai berries. The biochemical mechanism here is direct. These extremely dense antioxidants neutralize free radicals precisely at the structural level. By stabilizing these volatile molecules, amla actively halts cellular apoptosis, or cell death, preserving the skin matrix. This high vitamin C intake acts as a direct signaling mechanism for the liver to synthesize hepatic glutathione. Glutathione is a master antioxidant that clears dark spots and restores tone, and hepatic simply denotes that it is manufactured internally by the liver. Contrast this endogenous production with commercial effervescent glutathione tablets. Those tablets suffer from poor bioavailability, meaning very little active compound makes it to your cells, and they rely heavily on artificial preservatives and sweeteners that burden the digestive tract. Pomegranate serves a similar protective function. In Ayurvedic medicine, it is classified for its ability to reduce systemic body heat. In modern dermatological terms, this translates directly to a reduction in deep tissue inflammation. The active compounds in pomegranate are polyphenols. They contain 3 times the antioxidant density of green tea and actively assist in healing tissue damage, specifically fading old acne scars over a consistent 30-day biological cycle. To capture these benefits, the physical extraction method matters. Extracting pomegranate seeds via manual percussion, striking the halved fruit with a spoon, keeps the seeds intact. This preserves the highly volatile internal oils necessary for modulating digestion and lubricating the skin layers. Relying on artificial peptide supplements is biologically inefficient. By consuming functional inputs like amla and pomegranate, you force the liver to manufacture perfectly bioavailable antioxidants exactly when and where the body demands them. Cellular repair is only half the equation. The macroscopic appearance of your skin, its exact color and clarity, is strictly governed by your circulatory system and the volume of blood flow reaching the epidermis. Beetroot addresses this circulatory requirement through 2 distinct physiological vectors. The first vector is driven by betalains, the precise compounds that give the root its deep purple pigment. Betalains aggressively drive hepatic detoxification. They accelerate the liver's ability to process and clear systemic toxins. When the liver cannot clear these toxins quickly enough, the resulting overload typically presents on the skin as dullness and persistent acne. Beetroot's second vector is the direct stimulation of hemoglobin synthesis in the blood. Higher circulating hemoglobin physically alters the pigmentation of the skin, resulting in a naturally pinkish, radiant tone. This vessel cross-section demonstrates vasodilation. Dietary nitrates from beetroot convert into nitric oxide molecules, which bind to endothelial receptors, physically expanding the walls. As the data shows, consuming 100 grams of beetroot triggers a 10 to 20. You can achieve brief spikes in blood flow through mechanical interventions like facial massage or facial yoga, but the internal vascular expansion triggered by beetroot is sustained and continuous. To maximize the cellular uptake of these nutrients, we introduce a biological catalyst, high-altitude shilajit resin. A high-quality resin, like the one from Auric, consists of 75% fulvic acid and 2% humic acid, which act as transport vehicles to pull nutrients deeper into the tissues. Because shilajit is a mineral pitch, purity is non-negotiable. Safe systemic integration requires products manufactured in U.S. FDA-registered facilities and verified by actual rock sample lab reports to prevent heavy metal contamination. Skin clarity and color are not surface traits you can paint on. They are direct, measurable readouts of your body's internal toxin clearance rates and peripheral vascular capacity. This golden oil forming an impermeable barrier over a textured surface illustrates the exact requirement of the stratum corneum, the outermost layer of your skin. Without structural moisture retention, the skin dries and begins to fold into wrinkles. To build this barrier internally, we use coconut flesh as an ingested emollient. It provides highly specific medium-chain fatty acids, primarily lauric, caprylic, and caprylic acids. Once ingested, these fatty acids systematically migrate to the skin. They interlock to form a dense physical lipid barrier that exponentially increases the skin's moisture retention capacity from the inside out. Additionally, coconut acts as a potent prebiotic. It modulates the gut microbiota, which downregulates the systemic inflammatory pathways that otherwise degrade skin texture. This brings us to carrots and the conversion of provitamins into retinol activity equivalents, or RAE. RAE is a precise metric used to measure how much of a dietary precursor the body actually converts into active vitamin A. Instead of applying topical retinols, consuming beta-carotene prompts the liver to physically split the molecule, naturally synthesizing active retinol. The liver outputs the exact amount required. 128 grams of carrots yields 835 micrograms of active retinol equivalent, fulfilling 93% of your daily biological requirement. Clinical measurements back this up. Consuming just 100 grams of carrots 3 times a week significantly increases the measurable deposition of carotenoids directly into the skin layers. By providing precise lipid and provitamin precursors, your body self-assembles the exact moisture barriers and cellular turnover agents that expensive topical creams only attempt to mimic. To address dark spots and hyperpigmentation, we have to look at their biological origin, the localized overproduction of melanin deep within the dermal layers. Saffron is the foundational ingredient in Kumkumadi Tailam, Ayurveda's premier topical formulation. However, its pharmacokinetic efficacy depends on oral consumption. This internal view of a melanocyte cell maps a process called crocin-mediated melanogenesis inhibition. Melanogenesis is the synthesis of pigment. Here, crocin molecules from ingested saffron physically bind to and block the specific enzymes responsible for producing melanin. Because ingested crocin has exceptionally high bioavailability, it completely bypasses the resistance of the epidermis. It travels directly through the bloodstream to suppress melanin production at the source, actively fading dark spots in a measurable 3 to 5 week window. For severe inflammatory presentations like cystic acne, psoriasis, and eczema, turmeric is the primary biological alternative. Its active compound, curcumin, targets blood-level inflammation. Establishing a quality baseline is critical. Lakadong turmeric, cultivated at high altitudes, provides the peak density of curcumin required to trigger a systemic response. But turmeric requires a vital pharmacological synergy. Co-ingesting curcumin with piperine, the active compound in black pepper, inhibits digestive enzymes, increasing curcumin's systemic absorption by 2,000%. Targeting pigmentation and inflammation through highly bioavailable, orally ingested phytochemicals solves the primary failure point of all topical treatments: cellular penetration. Watch this macro time-lapse as the dull, textured surface rapidly hydrates and takes on a healthy color. This is the physiological reality of your skin. Pristine dermatological health is strictly an output of optimized internal physiology and the continuous availability of precursors. This 24-hour timeline matrix maps the daily pharmacological protocol. In the morning phase, amla, beetroot, and carrot juice merge into a single delivery vector. This provides an immediate influx of vitamin C, dietary nitrates, and provitamin retinol. This morning vector simultaneously activates three distinct mechanisms: endogenous collagen synthesis, nitric oxide vasodilation, and the hepatic conversion of active retinol. Advancing to midday, the second phase integrates dietary fats. Consuming coconut flesh or amla pickle alongside your regular meals sustains the physical lipid barriers in the stratum corneum and maintains circulating antioxidant levels. As the timeline reaches night, the final phase involves the nocturnal consumption of milk infused with either crocin-rich saffron or piperine-enhanced curcumin. This explicitly targets the melanin and inflammatory pathways while the body is locked into its deepest sleep repair cycle. Executing this 24-hour cycle guarantees the continuous presence of the precise biological catalysts required for dermal matrix repair. Pristine skin texture emerges ending though we stop applying superficial patches to the skin and begin treating it as the visible readout of our internal metabolic efficiency.